April 3rd, 1968, Martin Luther King went back to Memphis. He originally intended to check into the Rivermont Hotel, a hotel for whites, now an apartment building. King thought staying in a white hotel would be a sign of racial integration, but before he left for Memphis, King got an anonymous phone call. Why stay in a white luxury hotel? A black leader should stay in the black part of town, the caller said. Why not stay at the Lorraine Motel? So King registered at the Lorraine, where, the next day, he was assassinated.
I actually think that I would know who made the call. I won't say because I don't want to involve this fellow. He's older than I am now. He's retired, and he carried out all these things on a moment-to-moment basis. He liked doing it.
So if that call came from the FBI, that could imply.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it could imply that it could imply that the FBI didn't want him in a white hotel where he might kill white people if there was any shooting. And the mentality that I worked with in the FBI would think about those things.
At the Lorraine Motel, you have to use an outside staircase to get to the second floor. Less than 100 yards across the street from the Lorraine is a boarding house, a flop house for drunks, really. Dr. King spent his last day in room 306. That number was leaked to the press by an anonymous informer.
All the newscasts came on and said, Dr. King is back in town. He's at the Lorraine Motel in room 306. Complicity. So everybody who came in the news and took it off the teletype, they just read the copy. But somebody had to put that in the copy. They gave his room number. You would never do that.
But somebody did. Today, the Lorraine Motel is the National Museum of Civil Rights. On April 3rd, 1968, Reverend King was in room 306. He was preparing for a religious service later that night at Claiborne Church.
There were tornado warnings, and he thought there would not be many people at the temple. So he sent us over to conduct the services. When we got there, we saw all these people, and we said, we better send for him because this is his crowd. So we sent for him, and he came over. And he made that tremendous speech. And it was as if he was going through a cleansing. I mean, I heard him speak a lot of times, but never like that night. I mean, there was really something different about that night.
We are determined to be people.
That was to be Martin Luther King's last speech.
When he got really into that speech and he started telling us, he said, you know, we'll get to the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I've been to the mountaintop and I've seen the promised land.
I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
And he left us dumbfounded. We were just awestruck. Our mouths were open. We were crying. I was crying. Older preachers were crying. And we all said, we've never heard him like this. And it was like he had gone through something, and he was ready now.
Less than 24 hours later, Martin Luther King lay dead on his hotel balcony. The man who was accused of killing Dr. King was a fugitive, an escaped prison convict on the run.
I escaped from Missouri prison in April 1967. I went to Canada. I was going to leave the country. Well, first I worked for a couple months in the United States and got some indemnification. Now I went to Canada, and I was going to try to leave the country from Canada. And I got involved with someone named Raul. I believe he was Spanish back.